Hi everyone, it's Jen from Mind's Eye, and today we're going to be looking into quite a few things. But the biggest one was really the state hospitals, the asylums, um, the penitentiaries, and one out here, especially out here, that it was always a big issue was Mansfield Training School. Now, I'm going to let you know as what I know already from being in the area and living in the area and living and growing up. And then we'll move on into what is psychic and mediumship. So, what I know already just from being in the area and living in the area my entire life was that it is a training school. It was sold on the basis of that they could get it done because it was like almost like a reform school. And then it went into other things. And then we had the Norwich State Hospital, which had its own review. So basically, when we actually boil down to the state of Connecticut and how it became a human rights violation there, and it ended up being a massive lawsuit, where still today, uh, the state of Connecticut actually has to pay a lot of those who attended there, and they live in group homes, mentally, emotionally, and physically disabled. So, with that being said, when you look at it and those who actually, you just can't even get it out right. So when we actually see this, I hate to say it this way. I hate to say it this way. You have to look at them when you worked with those with DDS and those in the group home. You have to say what really happened there because you couldn't even understand. You just couldn't even understand. So let's go through. As a psychic, I see rent rue, RU happens. Now, when that happens, you couldn't even do a DU. So when you couldn't even DU because of RU, DU, BU, CUA, you couldn't understand what that would mean. So as someone I could see in mediumship, she was around like 13 to 18 years old and released at 19 years old. Couldn't even say a word. Couldn't even say a word. But let me tell you, this place caused a lot of chaos, a lot of havoc, a lot of rent, lease, LU. Now, when I see it come through, it is a naivety of an offer that was ill beknownst to a THI. It was when I see THI, it's like the bomb of all bombs that you just didn't understand being in there. Now, when I hear it that way, you can't do it. You can't do it. It really is no violation. That's where I hear one doctor actually saying, but really it is nothing to do. It really is nothing to do. So when you boil it down all throughout the country, how did one with a state whole nasty lawsuit literally be almost a domino effect throughout the world? Now, when I see the Knight of Pentacles, you actually have to say the lent and the rent is on the table, but you can't do it at all. You can't do it. So when you see it and you be it, you can't see it. So when you actually look at it, it's like all forms of the spelling. You never knew what was going to come to of Boo, of Sue, of Lou. Now I'm seeing this whole thing with like fine-tuned emotions of well balanced. Like when I'm seeing the orderlies come through, you have to sit there and just watch. There's protocols of quietness, unfulfilled wishes, to a loss of a money gag. everything. So when I actually look at it and there's like this relationship of a coming together, there was like a relationship of all of it. I just hear it's all of it. It's all of it. It's all of it. You can't do it whatsoever. No, 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 you can't do it at all. No. The Knight of Wands goes, you can't even sue. You can't even sue. And they would literally choke you up. They would literally choke you up all of a sudden. So then they would sit there and sit and smile and say, I got it done. I got it done. Then legal and judicial and law enforcement would come in and they would say, I don't know what's going on, but I mean, I see the blindfold. I see it. And then they would literally take this three of wands and say, no, I mean, I went hiking and I saw it. The Hierophant meant there was like this like source of dictatorship of how to handle each individual. So when we say what is the normal protocol with being with this type of person, you have to say the offer was so young, and I'm seeing in 1979 to a nastiness of a book called One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, to the Ace of Cups saying you had to be psychic and you had to be everything on a rent room. Now, there is a derogatory comment, but you can't always go it gone. You can't always go it gone. Now, when I see the Queen of Cups, it is counterintuitive. It's not what you expect. But let me tell you, it'll give you anxiety to the point where, at least in my area, certain days of the week, we still go, I don't know. And that is usually our test to see what is real and what is going on. Now, when they did the let out because of issues with human rights and dignity, that they had to let it out because they couldn't see it. You couldn't see it. Now, when we do this and you actually don't have the thought process of prudency, these are the things that I would actually come through. Now, let's say, and then they would tap like that. This was normal conversations. This is more mediumship right now. Tapping, el camino, and they would do something like that. So when you actually look at it, I'm seeing a set in. It was like a set in, a cast on, a be on, a no on, to toe on, to be obey, a so on. And it would rhyme like that. And they would all get up in like this marionette puppet way. And that is what they were talking about. Like there was like a lack of control of these individuals. And then they would say we'd come on with strength. Now, the one out here also was Seaside, and Seaside was known for one heinous act, and it had to do with rent row, but it had to do, they're showing me the lion of a mastery of strength. When I actually look at the Ten of Wands in reverse, there was like, thunk, I don't know, I hear thunk, and they would drop to the floor. Now, when I see the Eight of Wands, let me tell you, communication and destabilization came in so hard and so fast. You can't talk about it. Nobody could talk. And then they would phrase like that. It was simply exactly like it. But let me tell you, all those institutions, it was a deal offer on the table. Deal offer on the table. Now, with that being said, what do you do? It was like the mob was in there. What do you do? What do you do? Where do you sit? Who do you be? Who do you see? Females. Let's talk about the females. So the females, as I kind of kick up a little bit of energy, sing, rent, rant, dance, be a bay. They would literally be strong enough to tell you, be a bay, and command you like that. Now, when I say that, I actually have to say, no, 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 no. But then the term etiquette came in. And you're like, why do I need etiquette? Because I can feel your forceful energy. So when I actually gonna look at the runes, I'm one in Misha, he's like 79 years old. 79 years old, pulling it towards me, doing this. Now, North State, he's drawing me right down to the North State Hospital. And you want to hear red rum, like The Shining, but really it was Coke bottle on. It was like rhabdomyolysis. Like people would fall down and they would sit there. Is it a can tank or an act? Act. AC. Look at the AC. Then you look at the AC and you see Freon. I see the woods. I see a walk down the river. I see one who's sitting in a dress with a glass of whiskey. And then I see a woman and a gentleman together. They're stuck together. And they say, almost like Wild Wild West, like Pioneer. Poke face, poker face. All the time. All the time. They're really pushing on me, actually. So when I actually look at this and I see the Ace of Spades to the King of Hearts, it was such a nasty thing from 1930, and they're saying 78, 1940, 931 BA, T 1 AO. And that's how they would speak all together, like a chime in. So when you would hear it on the radio, you're like, they just gave like a whole dissertation. They gave a whole dissertation. How did they do that? On physics. Now, when I see the King of Clubs, and they would go right back into that. Was it controlled behavior? Was it manic mania? Was it bipolar? Was it anything? Was it acetylene? Unsettling. Let's go to the Oregon Trail, to Orion's Belt. And they would be all over the place all the time. To the Queen of Hearts saying, we did not solidify this whatsoever. We were born like this. And when we go to the Queen of Hearts, we go, rent, ru, lu, lu, mu, tu, lu, tu, so, zo. Now, many are still kind of like this. Those who are still in the group homes throughout the globe in the collective, they can be like this, but they'll say things like, my mouth is hot. And then they'll say, I need ice cream. And then they'll go, cracker. And then they'll say, hand movements, facial tics. All of a sudden, they are showing me in mediumship. That was around 1979, they started noticing that, which goes back to the movie Awakenings. So when I actually look at the movie Awakenings, I have to say what had to go with like polio and meningitis and all these types of infections that had this like rare side effect. I hear one card. Nope, spare. They would say spare. It's the spare. So five of spades says I can do it. Rent re ro no lo boat yo do yo no moto lo ni yo. And they would be like, is this like echolalia? Like, can they actually get out? You actually have to listen carefully to a lot of these individuals still. You have to sit there quietly, intuitively, and say, nope, I heard it. Nope, I saw it. So basically, it's like they want to play a game. They want to play a game. That you can't even believe it. You can't even believe it. All right, let's look at the runes. Let's look. All right. So 28. 28 were known to be what they call a roan. A roan would be someone who would be a schizoaffective, phrenic to bipolar disorder. 59 would be suicidal ideations. And then it would be kind of like this line drawn, someone like an orderly actually holding something like a rod, almost like a door. I'm just seeing it and they're like railed. So then when I actually see it, I actually have to go to the White Sage Tarot. What do you want us to know? It really was ill in there. Ill. And when I see ill, they're showing me in mediumship that they were sick. They were people who had encountered something paranormal to like a psyop like encounter in the community and they couldn't control themselves. So when I see the Nine of Pentacles, I actually see it really prudent. But there is really no like good beginning when you would enter to any of these establishments. It was a type of dishonor as they describe through the tarot and all of it. Because when you see the Eight of Pentacles, all of a sudden they would wake up. So was it, me being scientific and logical and through being psychic and medium, was it actually a logic because of the way of the structure of the building, or are they away from the incident that maybe they're a victim of crime? So when I look at this and I say the King of Cups is not something that they were tuned, I do see like chakras off. I see them being in the off position. I see them almost just instinctive, not intuitive or psychic. So when I see the Ten of Pentacles in reverse, it actually was like a loss of inheritance for them, like a culture to a solitude where there was no connections. So when I see the Queen of Wands, it was an honor dismay, as one describes, that the Two of Swords comes in and says, no, you couldn't even do a crossroads, the yellow sign, the stop sign, to the hair stray, to the hairspray. And they're showing me like the pink bottle of Aquanet, to the 70s, to the hairnet, to a cafeteria, to a kitchenette. That's like how fast they hairnet, like yellow clogs, like rain boots, raincoat, red balloon, it. And then you'd have Stephen King, it. So when you see the Ace of Cups and you come in and you say, what is actually true? Because I don't even do a counter into it. And they're like, quick bucks. Look through, and then they say Heath Ledger covered. So when you actually look at it, There's no victory. And I see Victrie. And he keeps spelling it wrong in mediumship on me. It's a game. It's an absolute game still, even out in the energy all around. And anyone who's done paranormal investigation will even say, this is something of that. So when you talk about these places, you do have to talk about paranormal investigations and you do have to talk about um paranormal activity. So we're going to talk a little bit darker and not too heavy on the ears, which is the demon, the devil, the Satan to the Lucifer and to religious practices of how to get it done, a DUN. And I keep saying it was a DUN, but really it wasn't. It was like a pre-way. All right. Why the books? I hear the book show LIF, LIF. LAF is a political term of when Jimmy Hoffa was around. Um, the star in reverse, unfulfilled wishes, absolute. The Nine of Wands is showing me the hardship. Now, the Seven of Swords to the Nine of Wands, you couldn't even get it do any. Every time you went into work, you just couldn't get it done. So you had to chisel away. It was a set in stone. And literally, there'd be comments like that. So when I look at this and I say the Three of Pentacles in reverse, there's like federal funding that was not on the same page with us. The Fool was this was like a recklessness on a legislature bill 1939 through 1979, and it reared its ugly head again in 1983. So when I look at this, the Three of Wands, you could actually foresee it. If someone in I would say World War One to World War Two, you can't see it. You can't even see it. And they're like, I blinked and I literally could see it post-war. The driving force with this chariot comes in with this foresight of being done, of being done. So when we go about it in a way where you can't even understand, that is how they used to do a roundabout. So having a lesson at a round table actually could be a good thing. Orange is the new black. So those are the things that like all of a sudden they're like, are they prophetic? Are they psychic? Are they foretelling? You can't even believe it. Can't even believe it. So let's do a do. All right. Literary witches oracle. What needs to come out about this? It really is a celebration. And when I'm seeing January 8th, 2025, there's a celebration of a 1923 from a 1915 to a 1941 where a gun came in a way unknown to be renowned, and you couldn't even get LeMay to do it. And LeMay is a name I see in mediumship of a gentleman. He was around 39 to 49 years old who worked there at Mansfield Training School and would literally hop around a little bit to North State Hospital. And then I do see a wanting to go to Seaside, but a no, can't do. It was a type of like beginning. When I'm seeing the news, I'm actually seeing a beginning of something for him that came in like, when I hear the word Red Rock. And when I look around the area, I have to say, yeah, that was a good deal. Because when you want to, it's kind of this, the rebellion I keep wanting to do, flip it. You couldn't even be. You couldn't even be. Bravery? Yes, I would say bravery of going into the building for sure. But let's talk about it. When I hear LeMay, I hear the devil rides at dawn. It definitely calls a rebellion. But you can't do. You can't do. He was pretty nasty. Pond. There's something about Pond with that individual that came out. Identity hidden. Identity hidden. Not a true name. He definitely had like small animals, familiars, as what he called. He was kind of ghost-like, which he would be around growing up around the era of Bonnie and Clyde when they did spirits. Healing. He was someone who would go in and work on the pretense that he was going to help. This would be like the snail card, a go it slow, but it was a be it known order. He was heinous. He's done this before. I would say a time of death was a 1329 on a September 29 in 1979. You gotta pace yourself with some of these guys that come in. Now, Rabbit goes quiet on the home front. And when I hear it, I hear mushrooms, quiet place of growth. I see a 4, an 8, a 9, E, 8, E, A, L, E, A, which is like almost like a little like spots in the woods, like coordinates. And they would go take a walk. And it would, you see bees and it almost like a bees. And this was like, he should, a female flash right in front of my eyes, like right in front. All of a sudden, right there, someone would be right in front of you. You would get a glimpse of something that you needed to know, and then all of a sudden, it would just be gone. It would be gone. It'd be wit and fun. Now, when I'm going back and on like maintaining a type of control, because I'm seeing all of a sudden like spirits fly into the house a little bit with energies, you have to say, you can't even, you just can't even do it. Now, with that being said, you couldn't even see it. All right. So we got this. You see the pond. You see these areas in the woods. They would say, I'm just gonna go sit outside, and they would come out and there would be a smoking gun. And they're like, but there's no shot. You didn't hear gunshot. What happened? Was it trickery? Maybe, but I don't think so. This had actually happened with Bonnie and Clyde around Arkansas and Oklahoma, around Texas. They were on their way to Nevada. And when that happened, you couldn't understand why they couldn't hear any gun shots until they called it in on a discovery. A lot of dishonesty and deceit. A lot. But when I see perspective at eyes, mind, tail, you could do a Don, a DON, because you gotta set solid. You gotta sit solid. Humanity, humanity. And that's all I gotta say about that. Let's actually go a little bit further down. It wasn't anything about liberty that you couldn't see it. You couldn't even do. You couldn't even do at all. Now, with that being said, where's the fish roast? And you would go right down to the North State Hospital. The containment order was so ill on how to handle everyone. You'd have to see what was actually happening. It was like this type of game where people actually did this and they would release that they could do things. What was true, what was known, and what was in lieu. So, with that being said, you couldn't even do. You couldn't even do. Let's go to the Peach Moonstone rounds. I hear tapping of the foot down at North State Hospital and a talking at Penitentiary, Pennsylvania. Living, letting them know that they're living. It's strong. There's a lot of strength. I say, wah, to a freeze. I heard you. Saw you. I do you. No, just a man. I'm just a man. That's all you need to know. Now, with that being said, your heritage and your state and the culture is all about and known to be a B, a C. He did it again. And they would do it all over again, all over again. Now, with that being said, it was a wheel of luck in there. So when we actually see how it is haunting, there's quite a bit of what they would say. Oh, there's a lot of tortured souls. There was a lot of human rights issues. There's a lot of pent up energy. There was a lot of everything. And I'm like, there's a lot of actually religious activity in there. I see actually a little bit of Satanism in there. Which I mean, it is what it is, but I don't see like to the fullest mark. I don't see the Grand Rising. I don't see anything like that, but I do see Satanism in there. Now, we had to do something with power, and I do hear like birth, but I also see birch. Like these individuals loved birch trees. They loved birch trees. And when I see at night, they would look at the birch trees and actually would calm down. And when you see this, which is Kanu, Kanu, which is Taurus ulcer, I see acid reflux a lot, a lot. Now with that, the strength, like when I see Sobel, which was sun would mean some sort of like strength of solidarity of being none. Like you were in your own body speaking as yourself. It was a tipping of a cup to a plate. And then I see the rotors and I see the brake pads and I see the lines on them if it's brand new and how it skates a reel to feel it. When you skate a reel to a movie reel and they're showing me Judy Garland, that you can't even like believe who's there with you. So when you actually hold it and she goes, a fine-tuned known to be unknown, alone, bone, sewn, gone. Maybe you actually have to look at it. Maybe you actually got to look at it. havoc in the warrior. So when I'm looking at it, they would throw energy so hard, and that's how they would talk all the time. All the time. They would throw energy so hard, you would actually crack bone. And they had to listen through so many times, law enforcement and military, of what was going on in the area. The actually frequency with what we have talked about in World War II, in World War One, that it would actually make them very hard as stone. So they would break a bone and it would heal, and then they would heal, which is a magician trick. And they would say it was a magician trick, but actually, as a magician, healing something or someone upon the request of law enforcement, you actually have to be well known that you can get a DUN. So a DUN is someone who works magic with a CK, which is doing spells, curses, and hexes to make a halt stop. So you actually have to know how to accurately do your energy to make that halt stop so they can still go to court and not hurt anyone. So that is where the joy would come in. Hidden, definitely, I would say definitely right now that I'm seeing as a psychic that the affiliates were definitely through and through there, through and through, even politics. Let's talk just briefly and gently about JFK sister, the Kennedy sister, on how that went in. And unfortunately, it was a nastiness of an ending to a lobotomy. So we had to say, how did that come out? As she sits there, she's just showing me. She goes, it was just a card game, and all of a sudden I was there, and then it ended that way. So when I see Hera, when it comes to these institutions, it was upon a knock on the door and arrest. So when we actually ask like about wealth, and we have to say it like water, well, flow through, well known, clinkety clank, but riding through, you could actually hear sound. A lot of these individuals could hear everything, frequency and hertz. So you had to say, were they intoxicated? Were they flying off the handle to cause aggravated assault? So where was that guy, as we say, like the spear of the solidified bomb of all bombs in the community, where it was popping off all the time? There, where is the trolling happening? And I do see that area in Norwich where there is a bridge where the courthouse is. And I'm seeing the bridge and I'm seeing the flow through the water and I'm seeing where the casinos are. That you had to say it was like not like don't drink the water. You can't even do it well. There's something I see like controlled burns, like waste management. I see cardboard. I'm seeing the paper mill that was in the area. I do see a lot of like defensive, and I see reed, but actual reed like bamboo reed. All right, let's look at this, the Akashic Tarot, and then we'll go to something a little bit lighter, intuitively. What do you want us to know, and what do you want us to show? All right. So there was like a butt of the joke on a lot of these things. And when you see the diversity of the individuals that attended there and who stayed there as patients, you have to say what was the illegitimate cause, three separate words, that would disqualify them in a court of law from being incarcerated at DOC, but at an insane asylum. But we don't call it that. So we call it the state hospital. You qualified. The karmic trench. I actually go to the Civil War. They did like quickly, like in mediumship, do like a sickle hook. Fall. There's something about falls, climbing, like escalating falls. They would like, and then they would show me the incidents of the collapsed lungs. Usually happens with people who are really tall. Unknown past. They're not seeing, but they are tapping. They are tapping. The treasure. They're not looking for anything. And that's usually when they would pick them up. Winged messengers. Missed the message? Yeah. A lot of them, I hear vestibular damage and a lot of it, of a slam. No physician, no medical care. When I see the divine physician in reverse, no, I'm seeing no. They had community physicians and they would end up there. Lightning bolt. Lightning bolt in reverse. A hurricane came through in the 60s. The bird's nest actually resembles when I'm seeing Norfolk, Virginia at the naval base, but really when they want to draw me to the Great Lakes where they do boat camp, it really is like Huron. Something about the fish and Mercury. Caught in the ruins. I would stay away from a lot of these areas. They're really unsafe. Unsafe. Do not go there. You will get caught up more ways than one. Not only you don't know what's going to fly into you, because that's where we're talking about demons, earthbound spirits, to other things, to illegal activity on the properties. It's highly written, do not trespass there whatsoever. Loving elementals. There's something about a lot of their lab work of those who were at Mansfield Training School to North State Hospital to Seaside and many other places and throughout the United States to other countries. I see three other countries. It really wasn't known. It was something about elemental lab work. I see almost like I don't know, like copper. They're showing me copper. Garden. There was a grow. They would do a grow. And I did a grow to the architect where they could actually do the building blocks of life. It was derogatory at times. Chess games. It was a game in there on how to get out at times. Sands of Time. Now, when I see this card and I see Sands of Time and I see these places, I actually have to say, give it a gift. Give it a gift. I would say Clockwork Orange, but really it had to do with another movie with Robin Williams, Patch Adams. Archangel Gabriel, you have to say it was a move forward if they did hear angelic beings of a tighter lockdown because the willow in reverse in this card can't even do it. Like I'd see these physicians, like it would only be certain physicians if they did certain symptoms of outward behavior. That's what they would say. Outward behavior, been notes to they, Rick did it again. And they would just go about because they would just tell them. They would tell them in their own way. They were so used to it. It wasn't funny. All right. Lastly, how is this in relation to 2025 and everything going on? At first grab, you want to say the insurance, but it really isn't. All right. It's about holding the vision of something because I'm seeing Guantanamo Bay empty. A birth of something that was known, it was talked about in these areas. Lost wisdom, look deep, like you're going to have to actually dig in a couple areas and test the water. Holding the opposite, extremes of life. Fainting. I see a lot of fainting in 18. And I actually see what you could actually be. And all of a sudden you're like, were you paying attention? You've been here for 25 minutes. Higher learning, absolute higher learning, soul growth. You couldn't even do it. Couldn't even do it. So let's close out with the crystal quartz. And I feel like this might be another topic to talk about on another day. And we'll see what it does. All is announced today. Literally by January 25th. I do feel something would come through that's on the table and on the media that has to have the drawn attention to a lot of things. I have to say some of these individuals were a little bit of a set in, still like remnant of World War. And then also to like folklore they're showing me, and they're also showing me the lore. And then they are also showing me something of a gaff of a gaffy to be a day, to be a day. Now, with that being said, you couldn't even believe how heinous it would get all of a sudden. So when I'm seeing the 25th, I'm actually seeing like a hard topic of discussion of how to do they. So as they're showing me a little bit of pronouns, he, they, she, him, hers. You have to say, is there something else going on? And that's all you need to know. Not to get too political, but really when you talk about these institutions and other places that they went to stay at, in other states that you have to say that it has to get a little political at times. So with that being said, we're going to end at that. Any questions or concerns, go ahead and leave a comment or send me an email, a like, a share, and we will talk to you soon.